Hello, everyone. This is Kaz with Elevate Your Craft, and welcome to episode number 12 of the podcast. And today's episode will focus on key concepts in approaching push-ups. So a couple of the concepts that I've demonstrated in the videos I've posted and that have come up indirectly in previous podcasts, but I've never discussed specifically, are leverage and weight-to-limb ratio. And concepts like these are important because they allow you to change the exercise to suit where you are at the time, or to serve a certain purpose, like warming up or practicing regressions and just going back to the fundamentals, for example. I want to get a bit deeper into the concepts because applying them can be the difference in someone pursuing training versus abandoning it. And I think the key there is it helps establish an ideal starting point based on your current capabilities, which will help build confidence and just foster staying consistent. So you aren't necessarily jumping into something that is outside of your current capabilities, which can sometimes be demoralizing. One more thing to note, there are other concepts out there which I will discuss in future podcasts, but I'm starting with these because they're great ways to introduce variation into your routine and can also help beginners find a place to start. And they're in no way limited to push-ups. I've just chosen to start with push-ups because, you have to start somewhere. And it is an exercise that many people are familiar with and can hopefully relate to. As time goes on, I will explore many different exercises and how these concepts apply to them. The videos I've posted on my Facebook page can be a good way to visualize the topics of leverage and weight-to-limb ratio. And by the way, the videos mentioned demonstrate the hinge push-up, the archer push-up with a typewriter combo, and a couple of incline variations, the back clap push-up and the shoulder tap push-up. So beginning with leverage, without getting too complicated, the hands making contact with the ground is considered the fixed point, and the body, the horizontal extension. The further the extension from this fixed point, the greater the mechanical disadvantage. So in other words, if you perform the push-up with full extension, your body straight, the toes supporting the body, it will be more difficult to perform than if you were to shorten the lever at the knees. And this is primarily because the core is forced to stabilize to a greater degree, but also you're pushing slightly more weight. If you were to visualize this using the video of the hinge push-up, it could be made easier to perform if I were to bend at the knees and use them as the base. And this applies to any of the push-up variations seen in the videos. Knowing adjustments like these can be made is especially important at the beginning stages of training because it allows you to ease your way into it and really build that confidence to keep you going. At the start, even the standard push-up can be a tall order. However, by understanding how to shorten the lever, it can be more manageable. Some of the other ways that leverage can be applied to the push-up are as simple as moving the hands closer together, like in the close push-up. Another is by straddling the legs, which establishes a wider base for more stability and also shortens the lever. Straddling the legs is often seen in one-arm push-up variations for greater stability and to help recruit the larger muscles of the torso to help execute the movement. It can also be applied in the standard push-up, though. If you find you've made great progress in kneeling push-ups, straddling the legs can lengthen the lever, making it a bit harder to perform. One more thing, too. Since the push-up uses two limbs as the primary movers in the variations that use both arms, moving one of these limbs away from the body will also decrease the mechanical advantage, as is seen in uneven variations. There are so many possibilities out there. However, I hope that this does shed some light on the almost endless variation that you can introduce into your push-ups. Another way to manipulate the push-up is by changing the weight-to-limb ratio, which is related to leverage. That's essentially how much load you have on the working limbs. So in the case of the push-up, the working limbs are your arms. So if we want to make the push-up easier, we shift weight away from the arms. And if we want to make it harder, then we introduce more load to the arms. So a great way to shift weight away from the arms is introduce an incline, which will use more of the legs to assist you in the movement. In the video with the back clap and shoulder tap push-ups, this is the approach I took. I use a portable parallette to give the exercises a bit of an incline, which shifted some of the weight to my legs. And I made that video to demonstrate that concept. The beauty of adding an incline is you can really micromanage your progress and figure out where you need to start, and then improve inch by inch. And similar to using leverage, it's such a great way for beginners to tailor their workout to their capabilities and really build confidence. And these concepts will always be present in training, no matter how advanced you get. Along these lines, if you want to make the exercise more difficult, you can also use a weight to limb ratio. And this can be seen in both the hinge push-up number 2 video as well as the archer and typewriter push-up combo video. In both, I'm shifting more load onto the working limbs. In the case of the hinge push-up, I'm doing this by elevating the legs or creating a decline, which shifts more weight onto the arms. In the archer and typewriter push-ups, I'm using a wider hand placement in order to be able to shift my weight onto the individual limbs. If we were looking to the extreme, say you go back to a standard push-up, if I were to elevate the legs to the point of being completely vertical, I would be in the handstand push-up, which puts the greatest load on the working limbs. The opposite would be to introduce an incline to where you're almost standing straight, thereby demanding the least from the working limbs. So not only can weight to limb ratio make a push-up variation easier, but more difficult as well. And these concepts can also be combined. If you wanted to regress a push-up variation even further, you could introduce an incline and shorten the lever to the knees. And this is really useful if you want to introduce more intervals into your training in order to progress. It really gives you a great degree of control to really do whatever you want to do and approach the progress however you want to. Keep in mind that the push-up variations that are in the videos are more advanced, which for beginners will take time to work toward. The reason that I use them is to not only demonstrate some cool variations, but to show the broad range of application for leverage and weight to limb ratio. They can be applied to the most elementary variations as well as the most difficult. And this is important because it helps demonstrate that while you may see some variations out there that seem completely out of reach, there are always steps that you can take to work toward them. And that's the essence of progressive calisthenics. And one of the reasons that I love it. It's just all the variation and the control that it gives you is great. As a final note, I wanted to discuss these topics because, as mentioned early in the podcast, I feel like they can be the difference in someone beginning training and quitting versus beginning and really sticking with it. I love hearing about people starting their journey to health and fitness, and I hope that these concepts really help them get started and stick with it. You can check out the videos that I discussed on the Facebook page, which is Elevate Your Craft. There's more push-up videos and discussions to come, so stay tuned. Be sure to follow the podcast on Twitter at EYC Kaz. There's also the Facebook page, which I mentioned, Elevate Your Craft, all one word. Instagram as well. The handle is EYC Kaz. That's EYCKAS. And there's also the website, which is www.elevateyourcraft.net. Feel free to ask any questions or maintain contact through the channels that I just listed. Otherwise, I will talk to you guys again soon. Thanks.